My name is Barbara Santos, and my semester project for Business 300 is on website usability. Okay, website usability can be defined as anything that's user-friendly regarding technology. So it can be measured as the ease of use on a website by its visitors. And to further define what its measurement can be divided up by, I used the website analysis form from week 6, which divided it up into content, structure, visual design, interactivity, and overall experience, which we're going to be talking about here. Okay, content is basically the information on the site itself. So anything that communicates the body of knowledge, which can be text, music, sound, animation, or video. It should be engaging, also relevant and appropriate, definitely clear and concise, but informative. And it should also work well with the chosen media. Okay, and this is important because it can help increase the website's rank and popularity because it can quickly make an impression about a business or organization. Some examples we have here. I think this is the Lego website. Should be the Lego website. Okay. So as you can see, they have the logo clearly displayed here and all their information up top. And also a little video here, just kind of fun, like their commercials. And their featured products right below. Very quick and easy, and enough blank space for you to not get overwhelmed. And of course, something not to do is to overwhelm the audience by overdoing it. And this is a horrible website that I found that you're going to hate, but is a great example of something that we shouldn't do. And I'm going to be quiet for a second so you can take in the music as well. And that's enough of that. I think they sell bridal wear, but it's just a lot of color, not enough blank space, not very organized, the font's very boring, the music is horrible, and really is not something you would think of at all for a bridal boutique. So they did a horrible job with the content on that one, unfortunately for them. Moving on, the next we have structure, navigation, and functionality. This is the framework of a site, the organization of content, prioritization of information, method in which a person would move through the site, which should be patterned and predictable, meaning that page to page the information should be structured in the same way so that you don't have a hard time finding it, and rather it makes things very, very easy to find. Okay, it's important to have that because when the user can find what they need quickly, it increases the overall positive experience on the website. And so you're going to get more hits probably, you're going to be more popular if you make things more accessible. And I thought this was a really clever way to organize things. It's artful and really, really fun. It's called Hidden Heroes. I think it's put on by a museum or a design firm, but either way, it's just going to take a second to load. So you can pick your language here. English, of course, is my chosen language, as this is what I'm saying right now. Takes a moment to see, but while it's loading, it already has the items that it's going to be discussing being put into this file that's loading. A thermos, a zipper, a mirror, some things that I can't really tell because they're too small, but you already kind of want to give it your attention because of this movement here. And you kind of, I got really curious about what the pictures were actually while it was loading, so it's a clever way to get people even more interested in your website and the information on there. And then when it finishes loading, just a really pleasant sound. And then here, it just sounds like a file cabinet. And then every time you click on an item, the sound bites that they use reflect the item that it is. And you can enter the site out of frame actually, but I can see the link. You can't, I'm sorry. Takes another second to load, and then I can show you the great organization they have here. They just have it kind of in blocks, and you can pull. You can just pull and pull. I'm going to click on the cable tie because I like that sound. All right, and then it has a photo of the inventor, the date of the patent, and some information here, and you can keep on going. Ring binder, thermos flask, ballpoint pen, And if you think there's anything missing, you can add it in there. So it's a little bit of troubleshooting for anybody who might have a complaint of something that's not included. So really, really great organization, structure, and navigation on that website. I appreciated it a lot. I thought it was really well done. Moving on to visual design, this is basically the appearance of the site. It should be of high quality and relevant to the message. This is a great way to communicate without text. And the reason that's so important is that basically sometimes it's easier to communicate without just words by themselves. The graphics do a great job because a picture can say 1,000 words, and so appealing aesthetic on a website is really going to be able to connect with visitors in a different dimension than just text alone. Of course, I have National Geographic as the example, positive example, because they're known for their wonderful photography and their home website main photo on there. Look at that, which is very seasonal and relevant to fall this upcoming season. Really gorgeous animal photos here, artfully displayed, and just so adorable. That is a great use of design right there. Of course, you have the continued content, really, really well organized. And here's a not so great example. Often when I go out to eat, I look at the website first. And every time I search this website, I've thought about going to eat at El Fornillo here in town, but the website's so low quality. It's kind of small font, and the pictures are okay, but they're not very artfully designed, and there isn't a whole lot of feedback from customers. Mediocre website, and I keep thinking mediocre food, so I never want to go there. All right, interactivity. This is basically something that allows you to do something on the site and allows the user to participate. It involves input, output, and you can search on the site or chat on the site. You can, design notifications to, for example, like real estate that you're interested in, or like online stores, real-time feedback. It always reminds me of that store helper online that asks you if you need help or if you want any style advice, which is a little bit annoying, but it's kind of clever at the same time. And the reason this is so important is because it separates the web from any kind of other media like TV or magazines, radio, because they only go one way. You're not going to have that real-time feedback that you're going to get with websites that you can get nowadays. And really this creates a huge element of inclusion, so important now, that connects the user even more to the website. It's so unique and it's such a huge advantage to that media. All right, and I found two really simple examples. These are both children's games. And the first one, it's just a food chain game. It's very basic. You play the game right here, and you just put these creatures in the right boxes, and you can move on to the next level. It's a learning website. It's very cute. A more complicated one here. Basically, you get the point there. And I chose that one in order to choose the second one, which is something that doesn't work. If you're going to create an interactive website, you really want to choose something that will work, and don't create something that doesn't work because it's annoying for everybody involved, especially a children's website. I mean, come on. So this is a sentence game actually, so you can start, and the idea is to just put the snail where the period should be, and clearly the period should be there, but it should be right here, but it doesn't work. And it doesn't work, and it still doesn't work, so don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that to children, don't do it to adults. Outside of our discussion from class, I found some additional things that one might want to think about regarding usability. You want to think about the ease of learning, efficiency of use, memorability, and the error frequency. Ease of learning, if anybody's looking for information on a website, you want to make sure it's accessible as possible, because it's going to make your website more, what's the word I'm thinking of? More relevant and more important and more useful overall to anybody who's trying to look for that information. And of course, if your website's not useful or helpful, who's going to want to go there? The efficiency of use, this goes back to, I think, just another way of thinking about navigability and content. So you really want to make it as efficient as possible for somebody to get through your website. Again, increasing the speed with which someone can get to information is always going to increase the likelihood of them returning to your website or recommending it to somebody else. Memorability, you always want to make sure your website is notable for positive things, not, a slow load time. And of course, error of frequency and severity. This reminds me a lot of my Mac, because whenever there's a problem on my Mac, it'll kind of scan it really quickly and then send it straight to Mac for, the information on how to fix it or avoid it for the next time. So if you have a way to do that on your website, or a way to provide feedback on your website about any bugs, I think it's also really important to think about that, and very helpful for future problems so we can avoid them. If you're thinking about starting a website, I think it's important to think about a few things so that you don't get overwhelmed and you don't create something like that horrible website we saw in the beginning for the bridal boutique. Just a clear and simple navigation system is very, very important. Clear and simple is going to keep things nice and neat for everybody, including yourself when you're starting out. You want to keep the content itself clear and simple. You want to build on that probably, but when you're starting, just make it clear and simple. Support your product or your message with the right colors. So for example, the King's website would have like purple and black on it, and not, Raiders colors or something. It's not even the same game, but you get what I'm saying. Sports references are not my strong point. You want to provide the opportunity for visitor feedback, like I was talking about before, troubleshooting, and of course test it on real users. It always just goes back to that feedback and being able to fix the bugs as soon as possible for the benefit of yourself, your product, and your users. If you're looking to improve an existing website, you could probably look at these things. I found a few things that I thought were really helpful. Is the load time reasonable? You don't want a slow site. Is the style and design consistent and appealing? You don't want something messy or something that doesn't make sense. Like I said, like red on the King's website probably wouldn't make sense. Is your font size, is it legible? Is it too fancy? Is it too small? Is it interesting enough? So you don't want the same font all the way through, because it might not be aesthetically interesting enough to keep anybody's attention. Are the images you're using aesthetically pleasing as well? So if you're using dull images or images with a low resolution, they might be less interesting to look at, like that restaurant I was talking about. It just didn't look very high quality, so it wasn't too appealing for me personally. Is your logo prominently placed? With the Il4Naya website also, their logo was very small and I didn't like it very much. You couldn't barely tell it was that website, except I was looking for it, so I knew it was that website. Is the homepage inviting and not cluttered? Again, with the Il4Naya website, it was a little bit cluttered. There was a lot of small font and everything kind of looked the same and very monotone because of it. And then you want to make sure there's a clear path to relevant information as well. We looked at the Lego website and the National Geographic website. Very, very easy to find relevant information on their headings. And of course, have the bugs been worked out? That just goes back into being able to have customer feedback, being able to make sure that your users are not getting any kind of unnecessary roadblocks in their road to information. All right. So of course, the all-encompassing experience of a website really is composed of the content structure, navigation, visual design, functionality, and interactivity, but it includes a lot of the intangible things that make up a website. So why a person comes back, why are they intrigued? You really can't measure it by its parts. It's really a sum of its parts. And one of my favorite websites, I'm actually just going to go into here because I bookmark it. It's a fashion blog. I'm just going to talk a little bit about why this is one of my favorite websites. She photographs herself a lot, but she photographs well, and her photographers are just fantastic. And see, really, really high quality photos are so important. So, so important, especially when you're talking about details like this. Look how beautiful that is. And, sometimes she uses interesting fonts here, not always the same font. And just enough blank space as well, so that it's not overwhelming. It's not a bunch of knickknacks, That's one of my personally favorite websites. Of course, if you're interested, I do have a bunch of references listed here. 25-point checklist, which expands on a lot of the advice that I gave, and a government website. The funny thing about the usability website is actually a lot of these are very, very ugly to look at. This blog in particular, the Webby Awards, was fun, and websites that suck. That was particularly fun if you have time and if you're interested. But this concludes my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoyed working on it. Thank you.